As the journey continues to study people, I am always fascinated on why top performers leave or top performers get frustrated inside of organizations. I think so much time, energy, and effort is spent on our low performers that sometimes we forget our top performers. And I challenge our clients and the people that we work with to actually inverse that. Spend more time on your top performers and really help your low performers out or help them out, as some of you have heard me say before. Remember, in our world, we talk about there's 3 types of employees. And I might be simplifying this, but just for the sake of this video, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. There's builders, there's maintainers, and there's departers. Your builders are your go-to people. They are your top performers. They will go above and beyond. They do exceptional work. They will be with you through thick and thin. They are the people that really help you set yourself up for the highest probability of success. You can trust them, you have great relationships with them, and you know they're gonna be in it for the long haul. Your maintainers are people that are gonna do really, really good work, but they're not necessarily willing to go above and beyond. They're gonna punch in, and they're gonna punch out. They don't necessarily want additional work. They don't want headaches and stress after working hours. And we all need those maintainers. The majority of our employees, I'm sure, are those maintainers, and there's nothing wrong with them. And then you have your departers. Those are the people that you're frustrated with. Those are the people that, again, you need to help out or help out. And so much energy and effort and time is spent with those departers that they actually have a long-lasting impact that sometimes we don't realize. I just came across a study that I want to share with you. There's a study actually out of Australia, and I just had to take a screenshot of it because I was fascinated by it. There was a Professor Phelps, that ran an experiment that really was eye-opening on how the results and outcomes took shape. So for a month, he divided students into teams of 4, and he gave them 45 minutes to solve management problems. This was a business class. And he gave them, and there was a prize. There was a cash prize for the teams that would solve the problems the best, and they would all be judged by a jury of their peers. And why the students didn't know this, Professor Phelps actually planted different types of people inside of these groups of 4. So he had control groups, and then he had groups that had plants in them. So that one of the plants was what he called the indifferent one. The indifferent one was, they didn't engage. They really just kind of played on their phone. They weren't necessarily willing to be a team player. They were just kind of on the outskirts of the team as the team was trying to solve the business problems that the professor gave them. The next one was the cynic. The cynic in a different group. The cynic would interrupt without having a solution. He or she would always talk about problems. They would be very sarcastic. They would never really be serious, and every solution that the team would come up with, the other 3, this cynic would always shoot it down. That won't work, that won't work, that won't work. Then the other one was the pessimist. The pessimist would just be, this is impossible, we can't succeed, and they really didn't even engage in solutions or problems or conversations because from the outset, their attitude was so negative that it really turned off the other teammates of the group of 4. Then he had, again, control groups that were all working together to solve these problems. Here's what he found out. The conclusion was striking, he said. They said the teams that were effective and actually produced results were actually 30 to 40% better with their overall performance than the teams that had the plants. And at the end of the day, here's what he said. Here's the lesson learned for leaders and HR managers and organizations. He said the real challenge isn't just supporting high performers, it's removing those who consistently drain energy and derail progress. And I think that is one of the hurdles that organizations are challenged with, is how do we get the wrong people off the bus? So the challenge is how do we be proactive? Well, first of all, we have to identify who are our departers. And remember, departers aren't necessarily always the negative ones. There's a group of departers that might just have natural attrition, right? They're retiring, they've been there for years, they're moving up in the organization, whatever that might be. I'm talking about your challenges and your problems. That's the departers that I'm talking about. So the first thing to do is to define it. Define who they are and really get intentional about creating plans for these people that don't necessarily add value, but actually create headwinds and hinder progress on your teams, departments, or organizations. Number 1, define it. Number 2 is really have some serious reset, refocus, reimagine conversations with these people that do two things. One, set clear, defined rules of engagement on how they should show up moving forward. And two, make sure that they understand that there's going to be consequences and accountability if they don't. One, that's kind of a CYA from an HR perspective to make sure that you're tracking and you're actually documenting that you're having these conversations. Make sure you're following whatever policy that your organization has. But it's vital that you have that line in the sand, that you have crystal clear expectations and rules of the game of what's expected of them and what happens if they don't show up that way. So that way there is no question moving forward of what your expectations are and how they should show up. And when they don't, now it's time to act. Sometimes getting the wrong people off the bus. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means they might be on the wrong bus. That will add tremendous value to the people that are on the bus. Remember, you keep the wrong people or you keep those departers, it actually diminishes those top performers' mentalities, their motivations, the way they approach things, their efficiency, their effectiveness. And top performers do not like to play on mediocre teams. They do not like to be involved with mediocre organizations. If you want to keep top performers, you got to create a top tier environment that allows them to thrive in. And keeping departers on your bus, even though sometimes that's the path of least resistance, is actually having a tremendous adverse impact that you might not feel today, but eventually it's going to catch up with you. So after you set, so number one, identify. Number two, set crystal clear rules of engagement and consequences. Number three, hold your feet in concrete. This is vital because if we don't hold our feet in concrete, if we set out these expectations, if we say there's going to be consequences if they don't do it, and next time it shows up and they don't do it and we don't hold them accountable, all of a sudden they know that they have us. And their mentality might be, well, they said that, but they're not going to follow through. Or they said that, but nothing ever happened to me because and I'm still not doing what they asked me to do. So it's important that we set our feet in concrete. It's not about being a dictator. It's not about being negative toward these people. It's about looking after the greater good and especially making sure with your top performers and your maintainers, you're setting up an environment that they can thrive in and set themselves up for the highest probability of success. So once it's time to get a departer off the bus, again, follow your legal policies and your HR policies, but ultimately it's about creating an environment that even though you have to let them go, you leave them encouraged, not discouraged. And there's one of two ways to do that. Number one, you create an environment where they actually come to you, right? You're holding them accountable. You're setting up the consequences when they don't do that. You're documenting it. You're having those conversations and you're letting them know that that is out of bounds. That's against the rules, if you will. That's not the way we play the game. So number one, you set it up where they come to you and finally raise their hand and say, you know what, this just isn't for me. And that's the best way to do it because now you can separate in hopefully a very cordial way. You can send them on their way and you can play the long game knowing that no harm, no foul, no animosity. We wish you the best of luck as you find another bus. The second one is there has to be defined time where enough is enough, where you really define when is that line and you don't cross it. And then it's time to take action. It's time to have those conversations. Again, you leave them encouraged, not discouraged, but you have those conversations of why it's just not a good fit. And the focus should not always be on them. The focus should be on the greater good of the organization. When you put a spotlight on me, I could get defensive. I might try to justify. But when you spotlight the greater good and what you're trying to accomplish and your vision for your team or your vision for the organization and why they just don't fit in, their piece of the puzzle just doesn't make sense, it's not easy, but it's easier for them to absorb that. If you need help having these difficult conversations and getting the departers off the bus, I lay it all out in my online digital course, The Design Leader. I'll put a link below for a free preview. So once you get the right players off the bus, now how do you make sure that you're ensuring top performers stay motivated, top performers have an environment that they can thrive in, and top performers are walking with you through this shared experience. So let's talk about some of the things you can do when you actually put the focus on the builders, not putting your entire energy and effort on those departers. Number one, make sure that you engage in their thoughts. They want to be involved. They have good ideas. They want to know that their ideas matter. So making sure that you're engaging in their thoughts and their ideas and things that they believe would help impact and create a even better future to drive the results that you're looking to drive on an everyday basis. When they bring those thoughts on, make sure you exhaust those thoughts. Those thoughts should either be acted on, maybe shelved because it's not the right thing, or even trashed. That's not a negative. They just want to know that their voice is heard and that we're doing something with their voice. So we're really collaborating and working together with those top performers. That's one. Number two, never forget the power of authentic appreciation. Never forget how sincere and authentic appreciation can continue to keep these people motivated, because even though your builders are your builders, they're human too. They get burnt out. They get frustrated. They get tired. Sometimes they get confused. Sometimes they just aren't having the best day. And never forget appreciation, large or small. When it's authentic and sincere, it has tremendous impact. So make sure that you're showing up and you're showing that appreciation. Sometimes we, myself included, we take our builders for granted on an everyday basis because they're always going to show up for us. Remember that authentic and sincere appreciation. Number four, continue to stack the deck with more top performers. When you're recruiting people and you're looking for people, make sure that they're the right fit for the bus. What seats do you need to be filled? How are those seats going to be filled? And how are those people that you fill those seats with going to impact the greater good? There's two reasons why we hire. We either hire for vacancy or we hire for vision. When we hire for vacancy, that's desperation. That's what we need to fill seats. We need an FTE, or we need somebody to fill that. We need a person to fill that particular position. And listen, that happens every once in a while. But when we can hire for vision and making sure that we're finding the right candidates and the right people that will align to where the bus is going and that will align to the seat that they sit in and how they drive and help create tailwinds, not headwinds, now you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of top performers that truly get to work together that help drive the mission and continue to drive things however you guys define success or the results that you're looking for. And the last thing is make sure that those top performers are working well together. Sometimes when you put a bunch of builders into the same place, if you don't manage it the right way, again, that could have some challenges in themselves because you have a lot of people with ideas, you have a lot of people with the way they want to go, and so you have to make sure that you're continuously, what I call centering the needle with your top performers. You're continuously creating clarity, alignment, and purpose. You're continuously helping them see how they're better together than they are separate. You're continuously helping them create stronger working relationships, building that trust, building that respect, building that rapport with each other. And so when you pay attention to those top performers and you're helping those top performers improve their performance, improve the team's performance, that's when they really begin to thrive. That's when you create stickiness. That's when you minimize confusion. And that's when you allow top performers to stay, engage, and continue to collaborate and work with you to set you up for a higher probability of success. So once that happens, if you're able to get the departers, the wrong people off the bus, and again, that's just a decision. Sometimes it's hard, yes. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes people don't want to even approach that subject. But at the end of the day, that's a major key to making sure you're setting your top performers up for success. So number one, get them off the bus. Number two, make sure you're filling those seats with other top performers. Number three, make sure you're paying attention to those top performers by showing authentic and sincere appreciation. And the last thing is getting those top performers to work together. When you can get top performers on the same side of the bus pushing, not only does it create tailwinds, but it creates major momentum that creates more efficiencies and more effectiveness for your teams, your department, and your organization to thrive. So what's something that you can do? What's something that you've been avoiding? Have you been avoiding having those conversations with departers? Have you been avoiding maybe paying attention to the top performers because you spend so much time, energy, and effort on those departers and those low performers? What's a shift that you can make that will help set your top performers up for a higher probability of success? Because if you don't do that, eventually, might not be today, might not be next week, might not be next month, but eventually your top performers will get frustrated and they will find other environments and cultures that they can thrive in. Whatever you need to do, whatever you need to shift, do it today. Best of luck.